Welcome. Welcome, Shasta College Humanities 2. This is my second lecture. I'm going to be listing this on Canvas on look at modules. Sorry. You'll see it on the right-hand corner on Canvas. Click on there. You'll see the video. You don't have to go to YouTube anymore. I'm bringing it to you. Okay, so be that as it may, I'll make this fairly brief. What I'm hopefully planning on doing, normally, maybe I mentioned this already, but I'm going to mention it again. The class, if we're in the classroom, is usually held on a Tuesday or Thursday or Monday or Wednesday. I'm going to say it's Tuesday and Thursday. The virtual Tuesday and Thursday, so I'll probably be making these lectures a regular deal on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Today is Thursday. So this will be my Thursday lecture. And I already did one on Tuesday, the opening lecture. Hopefully it explained a few things. I'm still working out the kinks on all this virtual reality. And one of the kinks I'm working out is the textbook. I got a note from a student that they couldn't find the text in the bookstore. So I called the bookstore and they said they're on order. Just haven't got there yet. So have patience. I won't assign any readings, of course, until you all mostly have the textbook. And if you can find the textbook in some other avenue besides the Shasta College bookstore, please go for it. It's listed in the, I talked about it the other day on the first lecture, and plus it's listed in the syllabus. Just get the correct one with the cover that looks like this. Volume 2, The Humanistic Tradition, 7th edition. That's what we're looking for. Assigning readings, obviously, because no one has the book. But you can also probably get it on Amazon. You can rent it if it's too expensive. You should be able to buy a used copy. Do the best you can to get the book while we're waiting on Shasta College bookstore. She said there was a change in staff, so things are a little bit chaotic there. I understand. So, nothing about the book, but it's out there. Please try to find it somehow. It's going to help you get through the class. And it illustrates what I'll be talking about each week in a very, more in-depth way that I'm going to go into. But also, I'm assigning you guys your first assignment. Go into Canvas, look at assignments. You'll see it. You have to watch a documentary that I've posted on in modules, and just click on there and have fun watching it. It's a BBS documentary about Martin Luther. Now, a lot of you are going to think it's Martin Luther King. Well, that's not the same person. This is Martin Luther, who lived in, when did he live? 1500s. Lived quite a while ago. And he is a radical religious leader that broke away from the Catholic Church. At the very, very, very powerful Roman Catholic Church, which controlled everything in these times, from governments to the arts to they had troops, and the Catholic Church had their own army. It was either their way or the highway. Martin Luther started preaching against them in a more humanistic way. It would be more of a liberal approach to religion. As he called it, it was a more humanistic approach to Christianity. He wanted to make Christians more human, not idolize them as idols. And this went against the grain of the Catholic Church. So he was a radical clergy that changed the course of culture. What I'm going to tackle in this class is people who mostly changed the course of culture. This is modern culture. as modern as we could be 500-600 years ago, but that's beginning modern times. There is in this area, these years I'm going to be covering, these early years, besides people like Martin Luther, William Shakespeare, and Michelangelo, we're all working in this Renaissance time. It's called a Renaissance because it was the flourishing of culture. It was a flourishing of the arts, writers, musicians, architects, planners, future people. The cities were changing. I told you the other day that some cities were now getting sewage systems, which was unheard of. And this is all happening in this era that we refer to as the Renaissance. It's a flourishing of the best of mankind at that moment. And technology is advancing like crazy. Now, it's not iPhones and social networking, but it's pretty radical. They're getting microscopes, they're inventing telescopes, they're starting to look at the stars. We'll talk about those later. But today, I just want to hit you up and tell you that you need to look at the assignments because I've assigned an essay. This essay is going to be watch the documentary on Martin Luther and watch it all and take notes. You have a week to do this paper. It's due this time. I think it's due this time next week. It's posted. 3-page essay, critical essay, your critical analysis. That's what I'm looking for. And what that essentially means is I'm not asking your opinion, whether you agree with the subject matter or you like the documentary or you're bored with it, whatever. I don't care about that. I'm looking at you analyzing critically this person, Martin Luther, in the history of our culture and his important place in that culture. Look at the man. Look at what he stood for, what he had, what his foundation was, what he brought to the culture. I'm not asking you to agree with it or disagree with it. I'm just, as a cultural phenomenon, Martin Luther changed how we look at so much, how we practice religion. Christianity, mostly. Obviously, because this is a Western Christian world we're living in right now. In this book, we're not dealing with Islam yet. This is Western culture, and he was a revolutionary figure. Some thought he was evil, some thought he was brilliant. So watch the documentary and then write your paper. Now, here's the thing. What I'm looking for is a critical analysis of the man. Like I said, not a review of the documentary, thumbs up or thumbs down review of the documentary. It's not what I'm looking for. If we had the book, which we don't, you could read some pages on Martin Luther. If you need to go research Martin Luther, I suggest you do it. But I want you to watch the documentary. Take the time to watch it because that's what I want you to base your paper on. It's a PBS documentary, and so it's very well done, and it covers a pretty broad aspect of his life and his beliefs and what his beliefs brought into the world and how they're still into the world. Maybe you've heard of the Lutheran Church. Well, this is where it all comes from. So you could try to get around and not watch the documentary. You could look things up on Wikipedia. You could Google things, but I don't want you to do that. I usually can tell if you've watched the documentary or not. I could read, usually, if I could read sort of a copy and paste job from Wikipedia or some other Google source, that you haven't put your thoughts, your own thoughts and analysis, your own critical thoughts and analysis on the subject, I can usually tell. I've read a lot of these papers, hundreds of these papers. And if it's a by rote general biography of Martin Luther, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you guys to analyze his life and through your eyes, through what you saw in the documentary. Now, am I looking for you to be right or wrong? No, I'm not. I'm looking for your analysis and your critical thoughts. You could be totally wrong or totally right. I don't care. I'm looking for your thought processes and that you got something out of the documentary, that you actually learned something about this person in this time they were living. So the person and his times. That's what I'm looking for in the essays. People, you need to put your name. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't put their names on the essays. You need to put your name on the essay, the name of the class, the name of the essay, and the date helps. You have a week to do the paper, a week to watch the movie. I suggest you not wait to the last minute. It's due at midnight a week from today, I think. And I'm going to get pretty strict on this because I've got so many students. No late papers, okay? No late papers will be accepted. Now, is there exceptions to that? You'll have to text me and ask me why you're going to be late or tell me. But unless you've got some major thing happen, like your house burned down or you're having a baby up at the hospital or you're in jail for the weekend, those are good excuses to be late. Let me know. But look at the dates. Look when it's due. So you want to get it in on time, midnight. The 27th, whatever next Thursday is. What is next Thursday? Yeah, the 27th. So you have plenty of time to write the paper and to review the documentary. That's it. That's all I'm talking about right now. I've learned how to use the new thing on Canvas, and that's the module aspect of it. So from now on, you'll be able to click on that to see the videos and the documentaries and my lectures. This will be on there too. So look for that. I will probably say in announcements, there's a new lecture, there's a new assignment, so you guys should go look for that stuff. Do check in on those announcements frequently because sometimes they change a lot. Like I told you, I just found out about the textbook. So that's how I convey my information to you. Okay, so briefly, this Renaissance period, which was in the early 1500s, the 16th century, things were happening in the world that was shaking the world up. Technology was changing. We're getting modern, what they call modern. We're getting a printing press. Before this, people would write. Only way you could print would be to transcribe each page over and over and over and over again by hand. So the printing press changed everything. All of a sudden, they could get out mass publications. A good example is in Spain. Cervantes, the writer, wrote a novel. Maybe you've heard about it. It's called Don Quixote, and it's a legendary novel. They've made several movies about it. And Don Quixote is a historical fiction, and possibly some people think this is one of the earliest Western Novels. When I say novel, that means fiction. Novels are fiction in literature. So when I say nonfiction, that means it's not a novel. It's not fiction. This is a made up story about a person who goes out into the wilderness, a knight. He's kind of a shambles. He's kind of a joke. He's an old man essentially, but he believes in fighting the good cause. And he has a little partner with him, Ponzo Sanchez, who rides a little donkey alongside him, and his helper and sidekick, and sort of the person that keeps him in touch with reality. When you read Don Quixote or even read anything about it, um, he's probably suffering from some sort of early dementia, but he's heroic in the fact that he is going to go out to do good deeds, a knight doing good deeds in a corrupt world. And he comes up against what he perceives as monsters, and they're not monsters, they're windmills. But in his eyes, they're monsters that he has to fight and combat. And it's all a metaphor on the tenets of good or evil. And so he's a heroic figure in that he's going up against these large creatures that he perceives as monsters. When I talk about literature in a couple of weeks, because we're going to do a whole section on this, we'll talk about Cervantes more and obviously other literature. But this is one of the first novels, fiction books ever written, because of the printing press, more people than ever before are learning how to read because they have access to literature for first time in bookstores or booksellers, what we would consider booksellers that would sell books on the streets and carts, not your classic, Barnes and Noble bookstore, but more people were starting to read, and that means there's more people that are writers. This was all happening in this Renaissance time of this religious leader, Martin Luther. And then the artists such as Leonardo da Vinci, who was a painter and an inventor. Yes, he painted the Mona Lisa. He did very few paintings in his lifetime. But he did a lot of invention, and he was a scientist and a painter. He changed the way we look at life. He looked at life differently, and his inventions are incredible. And when we get into these people's life stories, we'll see more documentaries on people like Leonardo. And just thought I'd throw this out there. He is credited for inventing the helicopter long before we had flight. He drew pictures of what looks like a helicopter, and he was convinced this thing would go up and down just like helicopters do. And he was doing this 500 years before the first helicopter. So he was a man ahead of his time. And if anybody ever gets to travel again, once the pandemic is over, I hope you guys go to Paris. I want you all to go there eventually before you're too old to travel. And go to the Louvre. And you'll go to the Louvre and you'll see Leonardo's paintings there. And you'll see his most famous painting, the Mona Lisa. When I went there 10 years ago, I was a little disappointed in the Mona Lisa because it was smaller than I thought it was going to be. And all the tourists, and I'll let you guys in on a secret right now, I'm not a big fan of humanity, and I tried not to be a sheep in the crowd. And so when I see a group of tourists with their little cameras taking photos of the painting, and they're not looking at the painting, folks, they're just taking photos of it and then they move on, I avoid those crowds if I can. And everybody goes to the Louvre and they go right up to the third floor or whatever it's on to see this painting because it's so famous, and then they walk away without looking at anything else. They just come to see that. Well, they're missing out on a lot because there's a ton of far better paintings, far more radical art in the Louvre than the Mona Lisa. But if you can see it in your lifetime in its original form, yes, it's behind a big glass case, and they have guards right next to it in case some idiot tries to grab it or destroy it. You need to see this stuff in real life. Seeing it in a picture in a book is not the same. Anyway, so go to the Louvre. There's some cool, groovy stuff there. There's a lot of great museums there. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, in the museums in France, in every city I've traveled through, I spent a lot of time in museums. You think they're boring? It's our history. It's who we are. There's nothing boring about them. Anyway, so in these times, Michelangelo was painting. He was sculpting. He's coming from Italy, Florence, Italy, and maybe you've heard of the Sistine Chapel. Maybe you get to Rome one day and you'll see his artwork up on the ceiling. They painted flat on his back. Took him a couple of years, and what he was painting was phenomenal. It was a revolution and highly respected by everybody, beyond what you think humans are capable of, or were capable of, are capable of. He was doing completely radical Renaissance paintings, the highest order. So we've got these artists. When I go, I'm going to do art painters soon, and so we'll go into these artists more in depth. Today is not that day, but this was happening all in this era of the Reformed. The church is reforming itself. People are breaking away from the Roman Catholic Church, and it's huge because they're hugely influential, and so things. We've got writers. Don Quixote's coming up. Michelangelo's drawing paintings. Martin Luther is creating a whole new, more humanist approach to Christianity. Shakespeare's starting to write his plays. And so the world is on the cusp of a complete paradigm shift from the old world to the new world. And that's where this book starts, is the early modern world, what they call. And let's see if I have anything else there to say. I don't. So find the book when you can. Keep checking the bookstore. I'll keep at it too. If you can find the book somewhere else, I suggest you do that. Other than that, if you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. Text me or my email. And I'll see you on Canvas. Keep checking Canvas. This lecture will be there. And I hope so far maybe you're enjoying this. Anyway, happy to have you in class. Thank you. And I'll see you next week, probably.